They screamed with laughter just as the splash hit the surface. My bike, the only way I could get to school, to my weekend job, to anywhere, was sinking slowly into the river wheel. First, like it was bowing in defeat. I couldn't move. My body froze on the bridge, hands clenched at my sides, eyes wide with disbelief as the current carried the wreckage downstream. Then came the voice. Sharp. Mucking. Didn't know a filthy dog could ride a bike. The others howled with laughter. Phones were out recording. I heard the click of a camera shutter. My legs started to tremble. My name is Mia Lay. I'm 16, and that was the moment I stopped pretending that things would ever get better on their own. It started as a normal Thursday. I rode my bike to school like I always did, the back route along the river path. It was a quiet escape from the world. That bike wasn't fancy, but it was mine. The chain squeaked. The left handle was taped up, but it represented independence. I bought it with my own tutoring money, and I loved it. The Bullies, led by Kayla Simmons, the kind of pretty that people mistook for perfection, were already waiting when I got to school. I heard them whisper as I locked my bike. Is that rust, or does it just match her skin? She probably found that bike in the garbage. It was always like that. Snide remarks barely masked. Smiles that weren't real, but today felt different. Meaner. They followed me during lunch, tripped me in the hallway, laughed when my tray clattered to the floor. After school, I took the long route home by the bridge. I never saw them coming. They grabbed my bike while I was tying my shoe and dragged it to the edge of the railing. I ran after them, pleading, panicked. Stop! Please, that's mine. Kayla turned to me with that venomous grin. I thought dogs liked to swim. Then she shoved it over the edge. The splash echoed through my chest. I couldn't even cry. I just stood there, wind in my face, feeling like I'd been hollowed out from the inside. They walked away laughing, high-fiving each other like it was some kind of prank show. And me, I stayed frozen, staring into the water. Some part of me drowned with that bike. But another part, the part I didn't know existed, started clawing its way up from the riverbed. It wasn't sad. It was furious. It didn't begin with the river. No, it started much earlier, months ago, with a library book of all things. I had just transferred to Crestview High. My mom had to take a second job and we couldn't afford a car anymore. So I rode my old bike to school every day, head down, hoodie up, trying not to attract attention. But one day, I accidentally left a copy of Wuthering Heights in the girls' locker room. It had my name on the inside cover, scribbled in blue pen, Mia Lee, property of the public library. The next morning, the book was taped to my locker, covered in ketchup, and written across the front in lipstick was one word: loser! At first, I thought it was just a stupid prank, maybe even a misunderstanding. But when I turned around, Kayla and her group, Lila, Sadie, and Tara, were standing across the hall smiling like they had just donated to charity. I didn't say anything. I just peeled the book off and walked to class with my face burning. That's when it started. They began calling me Library Dog. They'd bark softly when I walked by. Lila even threw dog biscuits at my feet once in the cafeteria. I became a joke. A running gag. Not for anything I did, just for existing. Sometimes I wondered if I had brought it on myself. I didn't dress like them. I didn't wear makeup. I didn't talk to boys or hang out at parties. I kept to myself. I guess that made me a target. I tried to fight back once. In chemistry, Kayla accidentally knocked over a beaker of water onto my notes. I snapped. Seriously, you need attention that bad? Her eyes narrowed. Her mouth curled into a fake smile. The dog speaks. The class laughed. Mr. Greaves told us both to settle down. No one cared that my notes were soaked. After that, I stopped fighting. I stayed quiet, avoided eye contact, tried to blend into the background like wallpaper. But wallpaper can still be torn. I tried telling the school counselor. She nodded sympathetically, handed me a pamphlet, and said it might help to build resilience. Resilience, that's what they called it when no one did anything. So I built my own, not out of words or sympathy, but out of everything they threw at me. And after the river, I wasn't thinking about how to survive anymore. I was thinking about how to make them remember what they'd done the way I remembered everything. Because I wasn't going to stay Library Dog. Not forever. That night, I sat on the edge of my bathtub staring at my soaked shoes. The water from the river had seeped into the soles when I tried stupidly to wade in and reach what was left of my bike. But it was already gone. The current had taken it, just like they'd taken everything else. I scrubbed my skin raw like that would wash away the humiliation, but their voices echoed louder than the water running down the drain. Didn't know a filthy dog could ride a bike. They hadn't just mocked me, they had named me, and I was starting to believe it. I didn't eat dinner. I didn't speak to my mom when she came home, too exhausted to notice the cracks in my voice or the tightness in my jaw. I wanted to scream, to tell her everything. But how do you explain to someone that you feel more like a shadow than a person? The next morning, I walked 45 minutes to school, in the rain. Every step was heavy, but I kept my chin up. I wouldn't let them win, not visibly, not yet. When I arrived, I knew something was off. People were staring. Whispers, phones out again. It took less than 5 minutes for me to find out why. They'd posted the video, not just any video, the video of the bike, the bridge, the splash. Me standing there like a fool, helpless, shaking, captioned with a string of emojis, and then the title, Dog's Day Out. I found it on Kayla's spam account. Over 12,000 views. Hundreds of laughing reactions. Dozens of comments. That bike needed to be put down anyway. Why didn't she jump in after it? Dogs like swimming, right? LMFAO. Someone get her a leash. I sat on the back steps of the gym and stared at the screen, scrolling through the hate like I deserved it. Maybe I did. Maybe if I were stronger, louder, prettier, they wouldn't have picked me. I told myself to delete the app, to block them, but I couldn't, because I wanted to feel it. I wanted to know how deep they had cut me so I could figure out how to stitch myself back together. I cried quietly, fists clenched in my lap, and then I stopped, because something inside me clicked. They thought I was pathetic, predictable, harmless. But if they were so sure I was a dog, then maybe it was time I bit back. Not with fists, not with begging, but with truth, the kind that everyone would see. And this time, I'd be the one holding the camera. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I watched the video over and over, studying every frame like I was preparing for a test. Kayla's face as she shoved the bike. Lila's phone aimed like a weapon. Sadie's laugh echoing as the splash hit. Tara pretending to be shocked, then doubling over. They didn't just film it, they choreographed it. They thought it was a joke, just another prank in their highlight reel of humiliation. But that footage was more than a punchline. It was evidence, and I was going to use it. I opened a burner TikTok account. No name, no profile picture, just a username I knew would catch attention. At the stray they mocked. I clipped the video down to 10 seconds, removed the filters, added subtitles. Then I added my caption. They called me a filthy dog. They threw my bike in the river. They laughed. So I posted this. No hashtags, no music, just raw truth. Then I hit post. I expected a few views, maybe some pity. But by the time I woke up the next morning, it had over 80,000. By lunch, 300,000. And the comments, they weren't laughing. This isn't bullying. This is abuse. I hope the school does something. This is sick. That's not a prank, that's cruelty. She deserves justice. I sat in the far corner of the library, reading each comment like a lifeline. For the first time in months, I didn't feel invisible. People saw me. The video had been shared on Instagram, Twitter, even local community pages. Someone recognized the bridge. Others started tagging Crestview High's official account. By 8th period, Principal Marin called an emergency assembly. Kayla and her friends weren't smiling anymore. They sat stiffly in the front row, whispering with flushed faces. For once, they looked like the ones being watched. Principal Marin stood on stage holding his phone with a grim expression. We've been made aware of a disturbing incident involving student bullying and vandalism, he said. Let me be clear, this is not who we are. There will be consequences. Gasps echoed as he paused, and we encourage the student responsible for posting the video to come forward. We want to support you. I didn't stand. Not yet, because this wasn't about me anymore. It was about every kid who had ever been laughed at, filmed, and shamed with no one to speak up for them. The girls were escorted out of the auditorium shortly after. Phones lit up with rumors, suspension, investigation, maybe even charges. And me. I walked home in the rain again, but this time each drop felt like power washing over me. Because I hadn't just posted a video, I had taken control of the narrative. I had turned their performance into their confession, and they didn't even see it coming. By the time the weekend hit, the video had cracked 1 million views. Local news stations picked it up. TikTok creators stitched it. Some shared their own bullying stories. Others offered to start GoFundMe pages for a new bike. One girl messaged me, "I watched your video 10 times. You made me feel brave for the first time." I sat on my bed reading those words, tears slipping down my face. Not out of sadness, but release. I had lived so long under shame that I forgot what it felt like to be seen with kindness. On Monday, the school was a different place. No one barked at me in the halls. No one whispered dog behind my back. Instead, students made room for me to pass. A few nodded. One even gave me a fist bump and muttered, "Legend." I didn't know his name. It didn't matter. Kayla, Lila, Sadie, and Tara, they weren't there. Suspended for 2 weeks pending disciplinary hearings. Kayla's parents tried to claim the video was manipulated, but the original her own post had been screenshotted and saved 1,000 times over. There was no defense left. Even the people who used to laugh with them now looked away in shame. Or worse, acted like they'd never joined in. That's when I realized the world only laughs with bullies when they think it's safe. When someone pushes back, they scatter like insects under light. The school issued an official apology in the weekly bulletin. They never mentioned me by name, but they didn't have to. I was already known. They called it the bike incident. I called it my turning point. Principal Marin approached me in the hallway and asked if I'd be willing to speak at an anti-bullying assembly the following month. I said I'd think about it. Not because I was unsure, but because I wanted to do it right. That afternoon, I walked by the bridge again. I looked down into the same waters that had swallowed my bike. Then I turned around, because I didn't need to go back anymore. I went to the local bike shop with money people had sent me. I picked a silver hybrid with yellow handles, bright, fast, and strong. Just like I was learning to be. As I rolled it out of the store, the owner, an older man with grease-stained hands, smiled and said, "Don't let anyone stop you, girl. Ride it like you own the road." I smiled back and said I planned to. And I did. That evening, I passed the school slowly, not because I had to, but because I could. Because this time, no one could throw me in the river. And if they tried, they'd learn real quick. Even a so-called dog has teeth. For so long, I thought surviving meant staying quiet. That if I didn't react, if I just endured it, they'd get bored and leave me alone. But bullies don't stop when you're silent. They stop when you refuse to be silent anymore. Posting that video wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. And truth, when spoken boldly, can be louder than any insult, stronger than any shove, and deeper than any river they throw you into. If you've ever been mocked, filmed, or broken down by cruel laughter, know this: you are not weak. You are not the joke. And your story doesn't end in humiliation unless you let it. Your voice is your weapon. Use it. Speak, scream, share. Because the moment you stand up, even shaking the current begins to shift. And no one can drown you when you finally learn how to swim.